all right, children. So let's look at a few other things we have to worry about. Of course, it's going to be about what we all have to do. So some of the silly mistakes we make can actually result in making things work worse when it comes to greenhouse gases and, of course, global warming, climate change, and the impacts come back to bite us, right? So we said many times that flying is very expensive in terms of carbon footprint per kilometer per passenger. So if you think people can just fly because the plane will go even if they don't go, then they have to know something. Some people say, hey, what's the problem? The plane's going to fly anyway whether I am on it or not. But that's not true. It only makes sense for the airline to fly if there are enough paying passengers. So if you choose not to fly a few times, perhaps the plane might not be full enough to make profit. Well, that's not the best way to think of running businesses out of, running businesses out of business. Is that the right way to say it? Then the boss of the airlines may think twice about the number of flights between a particular destination and another one. That could make a huge difference in kilometers flown, and as a result the kilos of CO2 released into the atmosphere, so it is worth bothering about. Okay, but there is another detail. When a plane flies, it takes a certain amount of fuel, and that amount of fuel depends on how heavy the plane is. So even if the plane flies and if there are enough people to make profit and keep running, you sitting on it will add more fuel to get there, and approximately your weight per kilometer is what it takes for it to fly. So just think about it, how much you weigh, how many kilometers you are flying, and how much additional fuel will be burned if you fly. Okay, you are young. Do you really need to worry about it? Well, it depends on you. The main thing I would again say is, do not get anxious and worried and keep thinking you are somehow responsible, or if you don't do your part the world will come to an end. That's not going to happen, right? So the same is true for meat. You can order a hamburger thinking, well, the cow is already dead, but if everyone says that, then more cows will die. If people eat fewer hamburgers, fast food restaurants will order less meat, butchers will slaughter fewer cows, more cows will stay alive, and farmers will breed fewer cows. That's a difference of 100 kilos of methane per cow per year, and that is really worth bothering about. Well, this is true. If you want to eat less meat voluntarily, then it's good. Make sure you get your nutrition, protein and so on from somewhere else, and see if your health is also going to benefit by eating less meat, and the environment will also benefit. But there are cultures which rely on meat for staple diet, for everyday food, for their nutrition and so on. So everything has a catch. We cannot just make a rule saying don't eat meat. That's not going to work. So eat less meat is a good thing that everybody can do, right? So you can see that the choices you make about where to go on vacation or what to order at the snack bar really do have an impact. Recently we've been seeing more and more advertisements for green energy, clean cars and sustainable veggie burgers. That's not because those companies want to be nice. Well, maybe it's a bit of that as well, but that's mainly because there is money to be made by going green. And again, the catch is veggie burger will have many things in it and may have chemicals, so somebody has to tell you, because it's not your business as a child, as a young person, to figure out what's good for you or what's in the veggie burger that you are eating. So hopefully there is a system that makes sure that the veggie burger you are getting is in fact environmentally friendlier than the real hamburger, and that it's safe for you as well and nutritious, right? So everybody has to be safe. People make money, but they cannot harm you for making money. So every company is now starting to make these things, and more they sell, the cheaper they can make them, because it's called the economy of scale. When you sell one or two things, making them will be very expensive, but if you sell 1 million of them, it becomes easier and easier. Then they sell even more and have more money to make their products even better. That's how it works with solar panels, electric cars, and vegetarian meat. And this is working. Solar panels are getting cheaper, electric cars are getting cheaper, energy is getting renewable, and so on and so forth. Even in politics, it often works in a similar way. Children, people vote for the party that they feel is the best fit for them. Parties want as many votes as possible, so they do things that make people vote for them. Lately, more and more people are waiting for something to be done about climate change. Things are slow because politicians may also get money from oil companies to ignore what people want, so they may focus people's attention on other things and make them forget about climate change during the election and win elections. So politicians are finally doing something about these things because the message is getting louder and louder. They are closing coal-fired power plants in some places. They are banning old cars and saying that they are doing everything they can to be compatible with the Paris Agreement goals of keeping temperatures from going beyond 2 degrees centigrade by 2100 and so on. So you can see here all these: eat vegetables, fly as little as possible, plant trees. Junkyard is getting all the old cars that are very polluting and so on. But every time you do this, you have to see who's getting affected negatively by it. It's clean environment if you get rid of old cars, but if there are people who cannot travel and work and make a living, then you have to take care of them as well, because the environment benefits everybody. Cleaner environment, but somebody shouldn't pay a price for making a clean environment for everybody. So there are many issues, of course. And you can see then not a cloud in the sky, and people are doing paragliding and hang gliding, and birds are happy, and there is a big veg which is a fast food store that's not selling just burgers, and there are windmills and renewable energy. There is a bus that's traveling using sails and winds and reducing fuel use, battery use, energy use, and reducing emissions. And we are all recycling, reusing, and reducing waste, and we are enjoying the clean air, flowers and plants. And the cow, there is fewer of them, so cows are getting happier because they are not being put in cages and being fed a lot of things, antibiotics and so on, to make them fat or produce a lot of milk and so on and so forth. So we have to come back and talk about what difference does it make. We're getting close to ending the course, so I hope you're beginning to get a sense that there are lots of things happening and we are doing many things wrong, but we are also learning quickly that this cannot go on and that we must do something, especially old people like me, for young people like you, so that your future is clean and safe and not doing crazy things like sea level rise and melting glaciers and cyclones and heavy rain and droughts and wildfires and health problems and so on. Everybody can be happy if we get you safely to a reduced emissions, zero emissions as well, if possible, when possible, and maybe you will be inventing things to make everything zero emission. It's called net zero, you may have heard of. I have lots of podcasts elsewhere on net zero, but they are a bit technical, so maybe you are not old enough to look them up, but you can always cruise my website, my YouTube channels, to see what else interests you and what else may be understandable to you, right? The main thing to remember is that the system is full of carbon. Everything we eat, drink, wear, everything is carbon. Energy is carbon, so we need to change that. So you can contribute, but not by getting stressed, anxious, worried, and so on. That's my message all the time. So let's come back and read a bit more about what difference does it make. Okay, children?